Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to another MAMG Let's Play of Sekimeiya. When we left off, we found out that the Sekimeiya was indeed there, like I thought it was going to be, and now we're entering the security room, and you may see a couple extra paragraphs because it kind of clicked a little bit in between episodes, but it's fine. I am curious to see what we're going to discover now that we know we're trapped in here and the Sekimeiya is still here. Okay. Like the lobby and the room we just looked into, the place was completely clean, and no traces of smoke could be found, not even any that had soaked through the door. However, the contrast wasn't as noticeable given the room's darker colors and faint light. Paying no mind to everyone's silence, Kate made his way to the chair and sat down. When he moved the mouse, the computer exited its suspended state and reactivated the 3 monitors above it, showing us what the last person to use it had been doing. Above those 3 screens were many more monitors that displayed the real-time footage of the cameras. While there was no way every room of every floor was shown there, at first glance, there was no trace of Naomi or another person. All these security cameras. Does this mean we'll be able to look at the recorded footage? We should be able to. I don't believe you'd be authorized to, but given the situation, we might be able to look at it after we talk with the outside. That was an interesting proposition. Looking at the recorded footage might have revealed the source of the smoke, if someone else hadn't been able to evacuate, and the information on Naomi's whereabouts. We all got closer to Kate and looked at the screens. It seemed the computer was using a standard operating system. Is this the current time? Oh yes, this means it's now 9:41. As Kate said that, the numbers next to the next to the numbers that displayed the date, the current time showed 9:41. Why can I not read all of a sudden? That meant the exit would unlock at approximately 21:05, 11 hours and 20 minutes. We started a bit late, so I think the smoke appeared 5 minutes after we left the lobby. I'd say that we've been awake for more than 20 minutes already, so this would mean we were unconscious for about 15 minutes. Yes, this matches with the amount of time I stayed here after I saw the smoke. Shortly after that, the alarm went off, so I knew I was already trapped. During that time, until I exited, I stayed looking at the cameras. I also tried to use the computer to look up information about what had happened, but the alarm even shut down my internet connection. Wait, what? Why would it do that? You said you still have a way to communicate with the outside, so why didn't you use it? Oh, I didn't find it appropriate. My top priority was to find out what was happening here, so I focused on looking at all of the cameras that remained functional. Don't you think a very good way to find out what was happening would have been to ask the outside? You might be right. That could have been a smarter choice, but I didn't think it through well enough. So, even though the internet connection is cut off, you have a communication method. Yes, this computer is connected to all of the computers on the upper floors. Even though there's no connection, a way exists to connect with the Ashia family, and only the security staff knows about it. It does not use a normal internet connection, and it was designed in case of emergencies. So, if you weren't here, we would have to spend 12 hours locked up not knowing what's actually happening, and without a way to communicate with the outside world. Yes, it sounds rough, but this alarm doesn't get triggered lightly. We should just be content with the fact that I stayed inside. I wouldn't have been doing my job if I had evacuated. Nobody had anything else to add, so Kate proceeded. Deep within many folders, he started up a program that contained a very simple interface. After inputting a username and an encrypted password we couldn't read, he pressed the enter key. The small window shifted into a much larger and empty one. The first thing we noticed was that a loud, unintelligible audio feed was being played. Seconds later, a video appeared in the center of the window. Ooh, is this a car? Yeah, it looks like a car scene. Everyone looked at Kate, but he shrugged and kept watching. The video was probably live, and the echo was obnoxiously loud. We could hear many people talking in the background, but it was impossible to make out any words. We continued staring at the screen, unsure of what we were actually looking at. Is anything going to change? Nobody answered a question they couldn't answer. After more than 15 seconds, nothing had changed and the audio continued playing. This is for communication, right? Can they hear us right now? They actually should be able to. Hello, can anyone hear us? Hello, can anyone hear me? Amidst the messy noise, we noticed one of the voices was strengthening. I'm from Ashia, talking from inside the tower. Is anyone there? Oh, yes, it's coming from inside. There's finally an incoming connection. My apologies. Hello? Is this working? Do you see me? The camera was manually moved by the person who sat in front of it. Still, inside a car, a police officer was uncertainly fixing his eyes on the lens. Yes, by the looks of it, you're aware of the situation. Kate said that because Ashia Tower could have been seen through the car's windows. A great deal of police officers were in front of it, and I could see that the metal shutter looked just as ridiculous from the other side. It was a bizarre thought knowing that we were inside. We definitely hadn't been on a streak of good luck, but being trapped inside a building the first time we'd stepped into it let us know that life wouldn't feel like redeeming itself anytime soon. I'd been trying to act composed and stave off all my negative thoughts, but the prospect of having to spend another 11 hours trapped inside a building was daunting, and Shiroya surely felt similarly. We know what occurred, yes. The Ashia family was in contact with us, and we were informed of this communication method. Since a member of the security staff was assumed to still be in the tower, we kept this device with us, expecting it to be activated at any moment. My name is Suripo. So, can you see us? No, I can only receive the audio feed. The man sounded a bit thrown off after hearing the voice of a little girl. It was only natural, given the vast majority of people who'd formed the line had been adults. What happened in there? How many of you were inside? There should be 8 of us, even though there's only 7 present. However, we can't be certain someone else didn't get trapped in either. We have not inspected the entire building yet. You're in the security room, right? If there are more people, couldn't you see them through the security cameras? Let me see. We just got here, so we haven't looked at it extensively. Some cameras have been disabled by the smoke, and some places are without cameras, but I can try looking through the ones that remain functional. Since the number of monitors wasn't enough to display all of the live cameras at once, Kate started to move through them with a program that seemed to manage the entire system. Presumably, only the first floor was being monitored continuously, being the one with unfettered public access. He was able to change all the cameras being displayed at once, making the process simple and brief. As he'd said, the only thing to be seen through a handful of them was a black screen created by the smoke. Even after the substance had solidified, there was no chance we could see well through it. Strangely enough, the last cameras that Kate displayed showcased a much different environment. The first floor had contained all of the exhibition rooms, and from there, it had only been dull offices, but some of the cameras were displaying a bedroom. This must look odd to you all, correct? Do you know the story behind this place? This was the Ashia family's residence until a decade ago. Then its purpose changed, and work floors began to be added. Okay, that's kind of weird though. This is why it's called the tower. The townspeople saw the floors kept being constructed, and they started to call it a tower sarcastically, as if it would never stop increasing in height. I don't know if Ashia liked the name, or if they officialized it to counter the negative connotations. You might have also heard it called the Ashia skyscraper. What you're seeing is the very top floor. When the sculpture was expanded for a while, the living area was kept as the highest floor, and it's now being referred to as the Ashia floor or the attic. It's not possible to enter without a very special key. One I most certainly don't possess. In fact, I have never set foot inside it despite monitoring these cameras daily. Of course, the cameras were installed after the place stopped being their residence, and they were only placed in some of the rooms before continuing was deemed unnecessary. The initial reason was to make sure it was preserved well, given that it was of great importance to the Ashia family. They were installed with the thought of someone breaking in and expecting to find unguarded hidden information. However, the installation process was never completed. While I don't know many of the details, I can say that not one time have I seen anything of importance happening inside. That sounded interesting, but it didn't mean much to us. Those cameras still showed an entirely desolate space. Every room with a camera is empty at the moment. This doesn't account for places like bathrooms, areas where cameras are blocked by smoke, the lobby, other staff-only rooms, and the section of the attic that's not monitored. I'm just curious, but this room doesn't have a camera either, does it? I don't see it on the monitors. No, it doesn't. For now, the number of us in the building is no lower than 8. We haven't been able to find the 8th person yet, but she must be here. I'm talking about Naomi Kabka, another staff member. I understand. Give me the name of everyone present. I will add Miss Kabka to the list. I'm Kate Kuji. I'm the main person in charge of the tower's security system. Everyone else I have with me is a visitor. Understood. What are their names? I'm Erina Majutsu. My daughter, Isa Majutsu. Majutsu? Okay, it is who spoke earlier. I'm noting it down. Akaro Esata. Akatsuki Hakutoki. Shiroya Mina. Sai. Sai what? Sai Yomiya. Oh, I thought you were going to be like the artist, but spelled differently. Alright, thank you. So I'm adding in Miss Kabka. These are the 8 people we know for sure are currently inside. This will be helpful. Yes, right now she has to be in a place that we can't see from here. The chances someone else is too are slim. What? I don't know. So, how's our situation looking? We'd also appreciate having information. We don't have much to work with, only the testimony from people who were inside at the time. Given all the visitors were in the lobby, we don't have a comprehensive rundown to give you. Unidentified smoke appeared on the first floor, and shortly after, an alarm went off. An effect of this alarm was to seal all exit routes. We already know this. Why was the alarm triggered, and how can we leave? There's one thing that triggers the alarm. According to what we've been told, it's forcing open the Sekimeiya cabinet. What do you mean? We were there just now and the cabinet looked fine. Not only that, but when the alarm went off, I was in the room with that very cabinet. I didn't hear anything happening to it. That sounds strange. This is reliable information that's been provided to us, so I don't know if it's possible something else triggered it. Maybe the system broke? What's for sure is that we just observed the Sekimeiya. Everything there is intact. I'm sure the Ashiya family would be glad to hear that. I'll tell them immediately. However, that is as expected, seeing as all that was stolen were a few gemstones of little value. Everyone had a hard time processing that last sentence. How do you know about that? Meanwhile, Suripo looked to be sending a text message, most likely to Ashiya, assuring the well-being of the Sekimeiya. What do you mean? What was stolen? Well, naturally, after the alarm went off, it took a while to confine anyone who had evacuated. A young individual carrying a black suitcase dashed off, so they were pulled aside. Inside it, we found various gemstones that belonged to Ashiya. That individual has refused to say anything. However, it's been assumed that some part of their actions triggered the alarm. If you say the Sekimeiya cabinet has not been damaged though, that puts some doubt on that conclusion. If their plan triggered the alarm, how did they manage to avoid getting trapped? We don't know, but since nothing is wrong with the Sekimeiya, this seems to confirm the goal was to divert everyone's expectations and steal a bunch of regular gems, while everyone in charge thought that they knew the next target. What do you mean the next target? And how long will we need to stay here as a result of this stunt? Both of your questions are related actually. I assume this means you haven't heard of the past incidents. Past incidents? What does that mean? I read about it not too long ago, in Yushi News, about how Ashiya Tower suffered another robbery yet again by a group called Shin, I believe. Yushi News was a monthly newspaper that released a compilation of all the recent news. Given our town wasn't very big, it was a popular way to keep oneself updated, but it wasn't something I often looked at. Exactly. The Ashiya family and Shin have a history together. Even though Ashiya is perceived as a major force around, when they attracted people interested in their business, they inevitably drew in competition and enemies too. That part was majorly taken by Shin, a long-running group that specializes in robberies of valuable objects alongside with the criminal activities. When the Ashiya family had become an established and wealthy entity, they also became a great target for Shin. The fact that everyone had developed in such a calm environment meant their security measures were far from prepared. It's rumored that Shin is a small group of people who work together and have a great deal of effort into their plans. Not a single time have they been caught, which evidently gave them a very strong reputation that most people came to know. While for Yashibana residents, the Ashiya family might look like an almighty entity, in a slightly bigger picture, they're not one at all. This led to them focusing on expanding themselves before even foreseeing or trying to prevent these attacks, which have only been getting bolder. The first one happened 2 years ago. The security at the time was nothing special, so it looked like a small job, not anything of particular note. However, since then, the attacks increased in both scale and frequency. I couldn't tell you how big this group calling itself Shin really is, but they haven't stopped tormenting Ashiya. Stopping them has been pretty problematic, and now they're attacking in broad daylight with mass panic like this. At least, we assume they're involved here. Had such a battle actually been happening in the town I've always lived in? I had purposely avoided that entire side of it, but I haven't heard of Shin even once. I can barely recall having heard of that Ashiya tower being robbed, but I never imagined that the events were of such a large scale. No one I frequently talked to had an interest in the topic, so if it was common knowledge, I'd never been told. Ashiya had always felt like a taboo, and I'd never personally researched them. I think the last time this happened wasn't too long ago, right? I was scared to bring Isla here, but she was really excited. Yes, on the 24th of November, 21 days ago, Shin last attacked. Ignoring the latest security upgrades, they made their way in during the night and stole a lot of valuable gems. It was one of the strongest attacks Ashiya had suffered to date. Correct. Nothing actually indicates Shin were the ones involved, and in fact, nothing ever does. However, the way everything goes smoothly, and all of Ashiya's efforts are proven futile, screams Shin to everyone. So this time, Ashiya took it a step further, right? Perhaps we'd all been thinking that. It looked like we had simply been caught in the middle of a rivalry, and Ashiya's latest move had imprisoned us. Yes, it's possible that Shin isn't actually involved, given the stolen gems were found. Nonetheless, the way they were taken out is still unknown. They were in one of the deepest rooms of the floor you're on. What closed the exit was the alarm, which had never gone off in the past. While Ashiya is denying it, malfunctions are a possibility. The alarm was supposed to only go off whenever the Sekimeiya cabinet was forced open. If stealing the gems we found was what triggered it, it doesn't make sense that they were brought outside. And on top of that, you're saying that the Sekimeiya and the cabinet are intact. It all sounded very strange, and I was admittedly intrigued. I've been given authority to tell you about Ashiya's latest move against Shin, which led to this incident. I see. This is what I felt I couldn't say earlier. Please, keep in mind that what I'm about to tell you is confidential matter that you're only allowed to hear because of your circumstances. One constant that is always followed with Shin's attacks is that they attack during the night, presumably to minimize the risks. Since no matter what Ashiya tried, Shin bypassed it without an issue, they recently put their full effort into a way to eliminate the threat. The Sekimeiya exhibition was no more than bait they put to lure in Shin. That and the alarm that they secretly designed were the two main factors of their plan. The tower was equipped with cameras and security. However, Ashiya hoped Shin wouldn't anticipate such an abrupt jump in their measures. There was so much advertising done for this particular showing that everyone in town bought into it. That was the goal, but on the side, Ashiya secretly designed the alarm. It was going to be activated whenever the cabinet was forced open. Only one true key of the cabinet was made, and the lock was very carefully designed to only allow the correct one. The cabinet itself, however, was one that they already had and could easily be broken with force. Obviously, breaking the glass of the cabinet would also activate the alarm. It was done so that any method of getting the Sekimeiya out without the key would trigger the alarm and trap the culprit with no way to escape. That is a very elaborate plan. Let me just say. What the hell is this about? That shutter could have injured people as they were escaping. No, the mechanism is equipped with a sensor. If anyone had been in front of the shutter before it closed, it would have stopped moving until they stepped away. We all kept silent at the realization that our situation was far more unusual than we thought. The final element of the plan was the room that you're currently in, the security room. The alarm, along with blocking off all methods of escape, has other smaller functions such as disabling the elevator, some lights, and communication methods. The maximum time the exit was going to be shut was 12 hours. Maximum time? Does that mean it can be less than that? Yes, but please don't get your hopes up. After the alarm, Shin members that got trapped inside would have no way to leave. You might have noticed the security room door is sturdier than the others. The last function of the alarm was to lock it. Like the cabinet's lock, once the security room's door is locked, it can only be opened with the actual key, which is possessed by the security staff. Every staff member worked to put this mechanism and plan into effect, and they knew very well what they had to do. Today, only Kate Kuji was present. A security member would be inside the room constantly monitoring the cameras. Of course, this is always done. Shin have shown multiple ways to overcome the cameras, but this time, this was of little importance. During the time Shin was trapped, the security member in the security room would have one job: to relay information between the inside and the outside. That is why the security room is the only place where communication methods aren't cut off. Once it was all over, the security staff would be able to unlock the exit before the 12 hours, to ultimately ensure nothing funny occurred, that their requests would have to be approved by the Ashiya family themselves. Only then would the exit be opened before the maximum time. So, you're saying they won't accept it? No, they can't. They don't know why, but they're unable to even access the command that would let them give their approval to open the exit. They aren't sure, but most likely something went wrong. Given the cause of the alarm is unknown, the most reasonable explanation is a malfunction or sabotage. Hey, Kate, you knew about this function, right? Why did you say we'd be here for 12 hours without mentioning that you had the chance to open the shutter earlier? Oh, back then I didn't think I was allowed to explain the mechanism and the reason behind the alarm, but I was certain we wouldn't be leaving before the 12 hours were up. When I was still in this room, I noticed the same thing the Ashiya family noticed. I didn't have permission to access that command. That meant we would have to spend the full time here. He's so shady. In case something went wrong, this failsafe was designed. The exit would always open 12 hours after it was locked. Obviously, that much time ensured that if a Shin member had gotten trapped, they couldn't escape when the time ran out. How is it possible that you don't have access to it? Can't you fix it? I'm afraid I wouldn't know where to start. I have no clue what caused it, but the Ashiya family is encountering the same error. It doesn't look like it's something I could solve. Then, isn't there a way to take down the shutters from the outside? No. The attack was assumed to come during the night, but it happened during the morning instead. I don't know a lot about the details of this, but evidently Ashiya were going to trap at least one Shin member inside and try to squeeze them for information over the security room microphone. No one really knows how big Shin is, but the shutters were designed in a way such that in case the members came to rescue their trapped comrades, they couldn't do anything from the outside. This is why, in much the same way, we can't do anything to break them down without a method that would collapse the entire building. They might look flimsy, but I guarantee you they're not. I'm confused, Kate. If you knew about this, why did you ever leave the security room? Why didn't you use the microphone to talk to the trapped culprit, as you'd all agreed? To tell you the truth, I did. All of you were unconscious though, so you didn't hear me. I didn't receive any reply, and since the most important cameras had been disabled, I wanted to see for myself what had happened. So, all of this means that there's no way out right now, at all. Yes, Ashiya informed us of this plan days ago. There were certain Shin would attack, so the police had to be caught up. Since today was the last possible day, we're all anticipating Shin to come during the night, long before 9 o'clock. I myself was in the tower, aware that the chances of theft were incredibly likely. I kept talking to Ashiya's staff about what the procedure would be if something were to happen. Sure enough, after thinking about it, I recalled having seen him next to the entrance door while we'd been waiting. I left before the hallway doors opened. We were told something could still happen, and one of us had to be pretty insistent in saying that there'd be an attack. That's why we stayed outside and were able to restrain everyone, who evacuated very quickly. I believe this is a scenario Ashiya will be going with. This was an attack by Shin, intended to subvert their expectations and target a lot of regular gems instead of the Sekimeiya. Maybe it would have been a success if it hadn't been for the new alarm. The suitcase was noticed right away, and all the gems were retrieved. It's possible that the alarm went off due to a malfunction, which is also preventing them from opening the exit before the maximum time. Right now, all they can do is wait and tell you guys to do the same. They don't believe anything else has been happened, and will likely be calling this their victory. It's very likely they intend to compensate the people who got innocently trapped once time runs out. I'm sorry I can't be of more help. While some details are still unclear, it's all more or less makes sense. Alright, is there anything else you should tell us? I don't believe so. There's nothing you should worry about besides having to be in there for a while. I personally apologize for all the inconvenience, and I'm sure all of you will be indemnified. Nobody wanted to mention that someone among us might have not been innocently trapped, and instead we remained silent, thinking about the hours that awaited us. Was that really everything though? Was it all just a malfunction? Was Shin actually involved? I knew many things didn't quite add up. What the hell happened to Naomi on top of it all? Recently, there had been a similar attack in Yushibana, where smoke had also been released. Assuming that Shin was involved in the attack on the tower, it was pretty easy leap to assume that they had been the one behind the other. So, what are we gonna do? 12 hours is a lot of time. Can we go to the Sekimeiya again? I think you should first reunite with Miss Kabka. After that, make sure not to do anything Ashiya might not be happy with, or they may find a way to avoid compensating you. Suripo forced a smile and was about to put an end to the conversation. Uh-oh! Suddenly, out of the 3 computer monitors, the leftmost one went black. What just happened to the screen? Sai, who was the one in front of it, was the first to react. Let me see. It's possible the computer stopped recognizing the screen. 1 second. Sai's overreaction threw everyone off, including Suripo. That was because we had only been looking at the middle screen, and the computer was still working. The leftmost screen had been displaying nothing but an empty part of the desktop. Regardless, Sai quickly grabbed the mouse Kate had used earlier and navigated to the screen configuration settings. At least you aren't using some custom operating system. I know what I'm looking for. I see. How strange. The left monitor isn't being detected at all. Does it matter? The computer didn't actually shut down, did it? Oh, no, obviously not. We can still hear and see you. Sorry, I was just confused. I don't know what caused it though. It just stopped detecting it out of the blue. You'll have some time to figure it out. For now, there are better Suripo never finished that sentence. Before he could, the other 2 screens also went black. What happened now? It wasn't only the screens this time. The computer seems to have shut down too. How? What the hell? Shiroya, Erina, and Isla were all looking upward. It seemed that the computer screens weren't the only ones to have turned off. All the security cameras too? Oh no. The light works, so it can't be a power outage. Did a cable get disconnected? Kate crouched under the desk and looked behind the computer. There's nothing that looks wrong. He pressed the power button multiple times, but the computer refused to start up. What the hell just happened? Was it Naomi? Naomi? We were almost done with Suripo, and it was time to look at the recorded footage. If it implicated her, she might be responsible for the computer shutting off. Is she listening to us? Kate sprinted out of the room and looked at both sides of the hallway. He even peeked at the lobby. While he was out and everyone's focus had diverted to the door, I noticed something behind me. Sai had just taken his arm away from the leftmost monitor. When he noticed I was looking at him, our eyes met and he smirked. Before I could think, noise filled the room once again. Kate came back, panting. It seemed the possibility of being spied on in his workroom had really gotten to him. We didn't have to ask if he'd found anything. If this was achieved from the outside of the room, do you know how it could have been done? No, that would be impossible. As I said earlier, underneath the lobby is the panel that handles the tower's electricity. While it isn't incredibly well protected, it should be impossible to power off the main computer from there. That sounds very strange. Are you sure it wouldn't be possible? I've worked here for many years, so yes. Maybe we should go check anyway. I agree. Let me go with you, esteemed visitor. Without waiting for a reply, Sai grabbed me by my shirt and lightly ushered me out of the room. Hey, wait. He didn't wait. It's fine, I'll be right back. That must have been enough for Shiraya because she didn't follow us. I did actually want to see the panel, so I let Sai do what he wanted. It was better not to put up a fight if he gave me the same result either way. We talked about the room before, so we knew how to access it even though it wasn't marked on the map. Sai started walking without uttering a word and I followed behind. I wanted to ask what exactly was up with him, but the words didn't leave my mouth. We went past the reception desk. Being behind it was a strange feeling, but I didn't have time to look around. As Kate had said, the door to the mechanical room was unlocked. Past it was a very narrow and dark staircase that made a sharp turn to the right. How scary. You go first. His nonchalant way of speaking made it clear that he wasn't being serious. If it was supposed to be a joke, it didn't seem very appropriate. Nonetheless, I entered the stairwell first. The ceiling became a bit lower, which required me to crouch down to advance. Shortly, both of us stepped into the mechanical room after opening a smaller second door. The temperature didn't change, but the light was very dim, much worse in quality than the other ones used throughout the tower. The illumination was worse than the smoke-filled hallways. High up on the wall was the panel that Kate described. I had to move aside a low table to walk up to it, but reaching it didn't present a problem. I could easily touch the ceiling with my hand. I looked around me. Past all the cobwebs, I could see the boiler Kate had mentioned emitting a constant buzzing sound. There were also small, worn-out pieces of furniture littered around, presumably because nothing bigger could fit through the staircase. It seems he was right. All the switches are on. Yeah, this probably hasn't been used lately. It's covered in dust. I agree. The panel is protected by a plastic cover with a key lock, and every switch had a label on top of it. They were hard to read, but the one labeled security room, just like all the others, was on. Can I ask something? Do you believe a word of what Kate's been saying? What? What do you mean? That took me by surprise. Maybe not so much by the fact that he'd been suspecting Kate, but that he'd asked me so suddenly. I mean what I said. Everything that Kate has said, there's no way you believe it, right? Alright, I'm gonna leave it right here. We're about to have a nice little chat with Sai, I can tell. He's smart, which is good and bad. But yeah, I feel like Kate is a little sus. He's being a little sus, alright? So we'll see what he has to say for himself, or at least what Sai's theory is next time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you enjoyed. I'll see you guys on the next time, AMJ. Let's go.